Welcome, everyone. Peace and love. I am your facilitator for this experience, Ifa Busiayo Nafis. We are coming together today for our community Skillshare experience. In this experience today, we are going to be exploring the impact of unworthiness, how it roots, how it ripples, how we rise. I want to thank you for being here. Being here, being present for this experience is not small. Being present for this experience means that you're ready to show up for yourself in a new way. When we are exploring the impact of unworthiness, we're not just exploring what unworthiness is, we are exploring where it comes from, how it shows up, its impact, what heals it. And that means to go deeper into what this exploration will require of you, that you create space for the lost parts of you that you will be reclaiming during this experience, and also what will be unveiling itself even after we complete this experience here together. And when we are reclaiming lost parts of ourselves, we're calling back parts of ourselves from different timelines of our life experience up until this point. That means that we face these, and we'll unpack this we'll unpack this more in the next few slides of when these lost parts come, when they show up. Some of them are not, they're not in their healthiest place. Hence why when we are moving through unworthiness, we are experiencing areas of in different areas of our life, how it is impacting, and it may not be impacting us in a way that is positive. So, with that being said, I commend you for your courage in showing up for this experience. I commend you for the willingness that you have to, and the desire that you have to not just experience certain parts of you, but to experience all of you. And knowing that you are worthy to experience all of you, and that you are deserving to experience all of you. And we will also explore practical tools that will support you on your worthiness journey. And this journey, I will tell you from personal experience that it is not a walk in the park, but it is very much so worth it. So whether are just starting this journey, or you've been on this journey for years, you will gain something valuable from this experience today. And I hope that when we are complete, when we are done with this experience, that you will be more of you than when you came into this experience. Ashe. All right, so I want to also let you all know that as I am facilitating this experience, I will be introducing definitions and concepts that are connected to my training in cognitive behavior therapy, which I am certified as a practitioner in cognitive behavior therapy. And I am also a life coach that is certified, niched in emotional intelligence, forgiveness, and intuitive development, as well as somatic healing. So I will also be, as well as I am a practitioner of an ancient wisdom. I will be including actually different spiritual wisdoms that come from ancient traditional religion as a devotee of Ifa. And I will also be presenting other spiritual concepts from other practices, walks of life, and all of that will be included in this experience. So this is not going to be something that honors a one-dimensional viewpoint. I said all that to say that. So just be willing to be open. If you're here, if you're not willing to be open, if you are very limited and rigid in your thinking, I will go ahead and say this might not be the time for you to have this experience in this community Skillshare, and that you may want to be a part of another community Skillshare, which we have every Wednesday, and that's totally fine. No judgment here. But I did want to set the tone for what this experience will include as we move forward. So without further ado, let's go into what is unworthiness. So first and foremost, what is unworthiness? It is a belief or beliefs that are often inherited or conditioned that you are not enough, not deserving, or not inherently valuable. So let's start off with the concept of belief or beliefs. So, in the framework of cognitive behavior therapy, a belief or beliefs are the interpretation of life experiences and events that happen within one's life. So, it can be, and you can insert where interpretation is. It can be an interpretation, an assumption, judgment, thought, or attitude of your life or of others' life experiences, events that have impacted you or impacted others that happen within your life, or also in the lives of those that you may be connected to, either through family connections or through social connections. Now, to break down what also a belief can include, and what it is I was going to say in the belly of, but what it is a belief is a set of ideas. So what is an idea? An idea is defined as a mental concept or thoughts, either real or imagined. So an idea connected to belief, which is a set of ideas. These set of ideas are actually what builds an invisible foundation. It's the building blocks of what we build our life on. I'm going to repeat that. The invisible foundation or foundations, the building blocks of what we build our life on. Okay. So typically when we're building foundations, it will begin in the beginning, right? We think about when someone builds a house, they don't start off with the walls, they don't start off with the roof. The beginning of the house is the foundation, and it's actually the most expensive part of the house, because you have to make sure that the foundation of the house is secure enough to be able to sustain the house over time. Okay, so let's go back to, now that we've defined beliefs, we've explored what beliefs are, we've explored what beliefs are made out of and what they are for us. In discussing worthiness, this will include that we've inherited or conditioned, we've built a foundation, we've included ideas that have been building blocks of our life, that we are not enough, that we are not deserving, or that we're not inherently valuable. Now, Where are these ideas coming from? Where do these interpretations, these assumptions, these judgments, these thoughts, these attitudes, where do they come from? Well, a couple of places that they can come from is one, ancestral trauma. So there is an interpretation of life experiences and events that have happened within the life of our ancestry, now coded in within us, that we are experiencing because of events that took place in their lifetime, although we were not physically present when it happened. Unworthiness, this idea, has become a part of our foundation through this medium, through our family, through our DNA, through our bloodline. Another place where unworthiness comes through is through early childhood experiences. So now we have something that is more direct, where we were present and we interpreted life experience and events that happened in certain moments of our early childhood development. And they may have impacted what we believed our value to be, right? So then we have cultural disconnection. So what has happened on a cultural level? You know, different cultures have different customs, and another culture may have approached the culture that has different customs, and may have generated an idea that, oh, you do this, and because you do this and you don't do that, what you're doing isn't valuable. It's not meaningful. It doesn't mean anything. Or something, an idea that's within our culture that may say individually, because you don't do this, you're doing that, and we believe that, a relationship looks like this. You're supposed to do this type of work. You are supposed to wear your hair like this. You're not supposed to be wearing clothes like that. And then now the idea of unworthiness has taken root. It's been planted. And through that constant reinforcement, the seed is now, there are roots that are now being established in our subconscious mind and conscious mind. Also, spiritual silencing. So, you know, there are experiences that may have taken place due to religion, and they're the customs of that spiritual practice, and it being aligned with something that doesn't feel right with your spirit. So you can even think about, if you want to, we think about historically the spiritual silencing that took place when the patriarchy established itself, and the customs of the matriarchy were being dismantled, and the oracles and the sibyls were being silenced because it did not fit the agenda that was being replaced in the community by the patriarchy. We also have systemic oppression. So we can think about, for example, the worldview of Eurocentrism and colonization, and the viewpoint that, I'm not here to commune with you. I'm here to dominate you. And in order for me to dominate you, I have to make you feel that you are unworthy of being viewed as a human. You're unworthy of being someone that I should collaborate with because, I have a supremacist attitude towards you, that your contribution to the world and to society and to culture is not in the agenda of what we're attempting to establish systemically. That in order for us to be able to do what we came here to do, we speak about colonization. The act of colonization is that I've come in not to collaborate with you, but to dominate you and destroy you. And unworthiness has to be a part of that, because if one is deemed invaluable, then it means, oh, you don't have the right to exist. You don't have the right to exist. You don't have the right to have a house. You don't have the right to have nice things. You're not worthy of that. So we're going to create a system to reinforce that idea, those set of ideas that will continue to oppress you, because it's not that this is something that is true, but these set of ideas are reinforcing that feeling of unworthiness so that there is a certain response that comes from the person being oppressed. So in the framework of cognitive behavior therapy, of CBT, just say CBT moving forward, these can be considered activating life events. So these events, these experiences activating the thought process or these beliefs that create space that becomes the soil of which unworthiness can thrive. And although the brain, we have this brilliant mind, the mind ultimately is seeking to preserve and protect us. And so when we have these activating life events such as ancestral trauma, systemic oppression, cultural disconnection, early childhood experiences, spiritual silencing, ultimately when these events take place, or usually, I say ultimately, usually when these events are taking place, it's due to our response is to protect ourselves, to be in that moment and survive that moment. And so we move into we move into survival mode in order that we are not destroyed by this moment. And we do certain we have certain thoughts with the intention of preserving and protecting us that may, although we in that moment are not filtering whether it's healthy or healthy or unhealthy, or constructive or destructive. So when I use healthy and unhealthy, I am using it with that context of it being constructive, healthy, unhealthy, destructive. We may believe, oh, this is constructive for our survival. And then in that moment, it may be. But then when we continue to return, or these activating life events come back around, they reinforce we have to approach it in a particular way, and we may show up to it in a way that is not from a constructive place, that is not constructive for us where we are in our lives, and it reinforces and strengthens the impact of unworthiness within us. And so, how it may show up, well, unworthiness can show up emotionally and mentally. It can show up physically and somatically, spiritually and ancestrally, and relationally and collectively. So, we're going to go through all of these in the next few slides individually and see exactly how it shows up. So, first, emotionally and mentally, unworthiness can show up as self doubt and inner criticism. So, for an example, I would have an experience when I was younger, that an activating life event that would be presented to me of, what should I do? I remember there was an event, this specifically I was working with, I had to call myself back from, and believing that I was worthy to trust myself. And so I would have someone outside of me that, they believe something. We would be in dialogue, and they'd be like, "Oh, well, why you do that? Like, well, what's up with that? Why you feel that way?" And I would ask myself, "Well, why do I feel this way?" But in the way that I asked myself, it wasn't I'm asking myself to explore and be curious. I actually took on the energy of the other person. And that then made that moment destructive, because I began to criticize myself, not saying that that person wanted me to do that, but because the tone, that energy that came from the way that I was being questioned, I then created this belief and idea. I interpreted it in a way where, maybe I shouldn't think this. Maybe I shouldn't feel this way. And so self-doubt and inner criticism can show up that way. And it may be in that we don't believe that we're worthy to listen to the wisdom that's within us, to our own voice, because it's different from someone else's voice, because maybe they were older, they had authority over us, or we believe that they had more than us, and that they were more deserving of being heard than us being deserving, us giving ourselves that space to be worthy of our own voice first. Chronic fear of rejection or failure, wanting to be accepted, and that showing up in, am I worthy to be here? Do I deserve to be here? Do I deserve to have nice things? Am I worthy of this success? Am I worthy of this achievement? And am I worthy of someone's time? If you were, you may have been in your childhood experience, you didn't have a lot of, you weren't paid attention to. And because you weren't paid attention to, you assumed that, or judged from those moments where time wasn't dedicated to you, to spend time so that you could be, heard, felt, where you had space to express yourself, or when you did express yourself, you weren't heard, or when you tried to say this is where I'm coming from and it did not sit well with maybe your caregivers, your the authority figures in your life, teachers, coaches, whomever, peers, and then that became the seed for fear. I don't want this to happen again. I don't want to feel this way again. And that's understandable. Who wants to, when you have that feeling, you don't want, those thoughts and feelings are not comfortable. So as in that stage of development, you want to make sure that, you want to feel safe. You want to feel comfortable. And so unworthiness is it shows up as, okay, well, I need to do this so that I'm not rejected, or so that I don't fail. I may need to people please. I may need to say some things that really, when I say them, they don't feel comfortable. Overthinking, perfectionism, or comparison. So now, I don't like the way this feels. This thought has come into my mind, and the way that it makes me feel, the sensation I'm feeling, which we will discuss in the next slide. We'll break that down a little bit more, how it shows up in the body. But of course, before it shows up in the body, it's showing up mentally and emotionally. And so now, I'm walking on eggshells. Did I say the wrong thing? I said how I felt. I spoke my truth. And the response that I got, or the way that it was received, was unfavorable. So now I need to, I need to consistently go over and over my steps. I need to ruminate with what I'm saying. You may have had, uh, siblings, and one of your siblings got more attention than you, or if they did something specifically that attracted more attention from adults and caregivers that you may have wanted or desired. And then you begin to compare yourself with, okay, well, what I'm doing, is it enough? Is it not enough? Or even in the absence of a caregiver, right? Wanting to, spend time, wanting to have that emotional intimacy, wanting to be heard, wanting to be seen. And then realizing that you had to do something, or you would do something to get their attention, or you would rethink your words, and well, so and so did this and so said that, maybe I should do that, maybe I should, do these, maybe I should say this and do this. And then it then becomes this, protection. There's a mechanism, a defense mechanism put in place, where you begin to do something in order that you don't feel the impact of not being seen, not being heard. Also, depression, anxiety, and internalized shame. This can show up as, you feel that you have to become someone else in order to be heard or seen, because who you are and what you are already in existence isn't enough. And because you don't feel like you're inherently enough being who you are, and maybe taking up space, or feeling like you have to restrict yourself in a space, it then creates this effect that influences your mental state through depression, through anxiety, and shame. Oh, your hair. This can even show up, it shows up in many of the areas where we discuss where it comes from. But one example is, with systemic oppression, you're not light enough. Your hair is too nappy. Look at your weight. You big. Why you big? Why you skinny? You too skinny. You need to eat. Why did you say those things? Maybe you were in a religious sense, and you may have been someone that had a child early. And I'm actually going to connect this to a ancestral trauma, because at one point, if in time, that if a woman were to get pregnant and they were in high school, they could not graduate. So they got kicked out of school for being pregnant. Ancestral trauma. Now you have something that you want, it's something that's beautiful, a gift that's coming into the world, but now society is telling you you're not worthy of completing your education. So where there's this desire to have joy, there's shame that comes with it, emotionally and mentally. Or even there are cultural norms that may say, oh, you shouldn't like this person, you shouldn't feel attracted to this person. So ideas around same-sex relationships. And because now there's this, oh, your relationship is not worthy of being acknowledged, internalized shame of oh, this is who, but I know this is, I can feel that this is who I am. And now I'm, I don't know how to show up. So this could result in, suppressing your identity, being someone that you're not. Or this shame can show up, and actually, let's go ahead and move into the next slide with the physical and the somatic experience of how unworthiness shows up. It can show up as tension or chronic fatigue, not wanting to wake up in the morning, not even really wanting to be in the physical body, disassociating and disconnecting from the body and the breath. Nervous system dysregulation. We spoke earlier about, the mind wants to protect and preserve us. And so it will go into survival mode. Oh, you're not accepted here. There's danger here. I can feel that I'm not being valued in this space. I can feel that I have to go over and beyond to be present, because being who I am, just as I am, just existing, is not valued. Or feeling ungrounded or unsafe in the present moment. So you may have a disassociative pattern that even if you're physically present, you have something that helps you to exit out of that moment. Even though you may physically be there, you have checked out. That term where you'll hear someone has just checked out, because you do not feel you don't feel grounded or safe in the present moment. Another way that unworthiness can show up is spiritually and ancestrally. We spoke earlier about not trusting yourself in the emotional and mental side, having self-doubt and having an inner criticism, which will impact how we listen to ourselves intuitively. We may disconnect completely from divine connection, especially if there's been a spiritual silencing, where we've been in religious spaces that have made us feel we're not doing enough, we're not, or the worldview of the religion is you're not worthy of having nice things. It may require you to take a vow of poverty, maybe a hidden rule, right? So also another thing with unworthiness is that there are these hidden rules that we sensed even when we were a child. These hidden social rules, these hidden energies, these hidden spiritual ideas. Oh, you said you were what? You were hearing things. Oh, you that's that you demonic. That's those demons. You need to be you need to be you saying you're receiving messages from the other side. No, that ain't real. That's not true. Being discredited for what you're experiencing that may not be that may not you may not even be able to scientifically explain. And so you've had people that have said, oh, they've invalidated what you've received, they've invalidated what you've gathered, maybe from a dream, maybe from just being in a moment, and then you get this premonition, you receive some insight, or you see something and you're like, I saw this happening, and you go and you tell someone and they say, you didn't see that. What you mean? You didn't hear that? That's demonic behavior. That's demonic influence. So now you don't want to say anything. And it may not mean that you're not still receiving guidance or insight spiritually, but you have now been silenced or shamed around your gifts. And so you suppress them. There are ancestral traditions that have been in existence for millennia, but were disrupted by colonization. They were a way of life within the community, but they were disrupted by colonization and Eurocentrism because they did not fit that agenda. And in order for the next set of generations to come into existence, some of our ancestors had to suppress this knowledge or create it to be something different, hiding behind something else instead of it being, fully what it is without it needing to be hidden. Because it was said to not be worthy, it was said to not be valuable, it was discredited systemically. When the medical industry, found this very interesting in my research, because there is a lot of stigma around root work, herbal medicine. Let me just specifically say root work. And this has developed over time due to the agenda of power and domination. I want to address specifically because in my research, I did not know that midwifery was also under the umbrella of root work. So when the medical industry Western medicine was beginning to emerge in the community and in society, there was there was a discrediting of midwifery. They actually began to create propaganda and initiate smear campaigns and also make it illegal for midwives because this is a profession, that they could no longer do their midwifery work. And it became suppressed because of the emergence of Western medicine and the redirection of honoring this cultural norm and tradition, and it being transferred to another systemic structure, to another structure within the system. And so that leads us into the feeling cut off from belonging and purpose. Oh, you haven't gone through a medical program, so we are not going to you are not honored as someone whom knows. It doesn't matter that you were given a vision, told by your elders that this was your life's work, this was your purpose, this is what you're here to do. That you have been taught on what medicine, and of course, I'm still focused on this component of cultural, of indigenous culture, with knowing the plants, knowing the land, knowing what is poisonous, knowing what heals. Because now there is this, oh, we are going to cut you off because it doesn't fit the social structure, the social system that we are building. Your information is not worthy here. You are not valuable. There were many elders, shamans, medicine women, medicine men that were cut off, even killed, destroyed because they were deemed invaluable, because they couldn't be silenced. And some of them were silenced and their lives were threatened because of their gifts. So now that leads us into the relational and collective experience of the impact of unworthiness. Because what impacts one individual impacts the collective. We are all in this together. This is a community. The individual creates community. There's no community, there's no collective without individuals. One of the ways that unworthiness impacts us is the attracting unsafe, one-sided, or extractive relationships, overgiving or healing to be needed, fear of being seen, heard, or held, and isolation that's masked as independence. I didn't feel my voice wasn't valued when I was a child. Now when I show up in community spaces, I'm not sure if you may have the brilliant insight brilliant insight that may have come to you through experience, come to you through a spiritual experience, or through experiences that you've had through personal development, or that has emerged out of your physical body, that has its own brilliance. But because you don't feel safe, because you have this fear of being seen, heard, or held, and that you're not valued, you're not showing up in the collective with your gifts. You're not showing up with what you've been given to contribute. Because unworthiness has given you the idea and these set of beliefs that how you show up and what you do is not valuable. Or you may be showing up, but struggling to ask for what you deserve from your work. So you overgive but undercharge. you give more than you're receiving. Then you get burnt out. And then when you're burnt out, you either move into a state of depression, you completely stop what you're doing, you isolate yourself. Oh, I don't need anybody. And in reality, that's a defense mechanism to convince yourself that, this is, you don't need anyone. In reality, it's you trying to protect yourself and to be safe, which is a need. We all have a need and we all are worthy of being safe. So there's nothing wrong with that. But it is in the way that the essence of what you're doing is with the essence of unworthiness. I'm protecting myself from feeling unworthy, from feeling like I'm not deserving of the achievements that I'm getting, from showing up as myself, showing up in who I am, being who I am, taking up space. Or in relationships, I'm attracting people that require me to give more and I receive less. Just because I want to feel needed. Or I'm healing, but I'm healing because I want to be needed, not because I'm worthy or deserving of a healed version of myself. Now it's, I'm healing so that I can be seen, I can be needed, I can be heard. But it's being masked. I'm on a healing journey. But I'm on a healing journey because I want the collective to accept me. I'm tired of feeling like I'm not accepted. So where does it come from? We highlighted where it comes from through moving through how it shows up. It can come from generational trauma and cultural silencing. There were cultures that, because of colonization and that Eurocentrism and colonization and white supremacy, the idea and beliefs that are in the culture of white supremacy, colonization, and Eurocentrism is that there is that we are higher than any other culture. So with that comes the concept and idea of genocide, either psychologically, physically. The program of that requires taking things away, which is a part of unworthiness. When we unpack unworthiness, we are also disconnecting parts of ourselves so that we can survive. It's not just, oh, I deem myself unworthy. We actually take a part of ourselves and we remove it from ourselves in order to, because we believe that we must exist. And in order to exist, I can't have this part of me a part of my existence. So then we remove this part of ourselves, and it can be with repression, suppression. And we hide this version of ourselves. And so on a generational and cultural level, there are versions that of culture of that generationally in our family systems, this has been happening individually. So now we have these lost versions or parts of souls being taken off of, you know, individually we're doing this, but then if everyone in a family system is doing this and it's generationally happening, then there's a collective of what we may have heard as a term lost souls or shadows. So we think about it, if one generation does it, then another generation. Just imagine 7 generations of generational trauma and needing to survive in order that the next set of generation could even come into existence. But there is I can't be a whole person. In order for this to happen, I got to take this version of me. I got to take this part of me off of me. And then let's say off of one person, you have 5 fragments of this person, five parts of this person taken off of them. And you multiply that into 7 generations. And then now, not just in one family system, but then you have several family systems that create a culture, and and then you have that happening due to colonization and religious conditioning, early childhood emotional neglect or abandonment, systems of oppression that told us we were less than. So that is the level of the impact of unworthiness. I want to repeat what I just said earlier, that if you have one individual, an individual makes up a collective, right? But it's the individual and then the family system. So our first interaction, our first social interaction. So we have ideas that exist within the family system that facilitate patterns, that put patterns of unworthiness in motion due to a set of ideas being beliefs. And that this is the foundation of the family system due to generational trauma that's been influenced because of colonization, um, being marginalized, religious conditioning. You have a system of religion that's saying that in order for it to have power, it has to demonize your connection with the divine. And then it forces its own worldview on you, which means the way of it in terms of unworthiness, you are not worthy, you are not deserving. Your connection with the divine, the way you communicate, the way you connect spiritually, it isn't valuable. How you move through life, not valuable. But if you adopt this worldview, you will be accepted. You will be valuable. You will be worthy. And then you have generations of it showing up and mutating in different ideas, forms of ideas and beliefs that now become the foundation of your family system. And then the family system is the building block of a community. Now you have a family showing up in the world with the belief, an idea of unworthiness, and it may show up as, in order for me to protect myself, I might need to, make sure I'm materially covered. I do things that, or I mask myself. I assimilate with the language that is being imposed on me. I change my dialect because I'm being told the way that I speak is not intelligent. Until I learn English, my language is not valuable. Until I learn Spanish, until I learn French, I'm not valuable in the context of colonization, just to set that tone. And so now we have this, fast forward to now, this is the compounded impact of unworthiness. And so, what is the cost? How have we paid for this compound impact? One of the ways is through identity confusion. Who am I? Because I was told that the way that I am is not good enough. My hair is not straight enough. Oh, if your hair ain't straight and your skin is not a certain color, you're not accepted here. Oh, you speak a certain way. You're not accepted here. Or energetic depletion. Because if you're unable to show up as yourself and you have to break away these parts of your identity, you are now taking away, you may be taking away vital components of your energetic body that may just very well support your survival and your ability to thrive, which can invite disease. Because if your body is carrying a certain tension for a certain period of time, if you can't move a certain way, we went over in the slides earlier of the physical and somatic impact of unworthiness. It's not just it's taking place physically. And mentally, I don't want to wake up. I don't have the energy to exist. Because why does it matter if I show up anyway? I don't feel like when I show up, I'm even making a contribution to this space. Strained relationships. If there's a wound between the mother and the child, or the father and the child, this may ripple out into relationships later on. It can be, oh, you're doing something different than they would have. Now there's a strain because the ideas, again, we discussed that beliefs are the foundations. The ideas are building blocks that one builds their life on. So if you are you are here to contribute a new idea. That's your life purpose. But it isn't being accepted due to the person, the relationship either that you may have with your parents or your or other family members. And they don't understand. They don't understand. Everybody has different values, right? They may not value what what your idea is of how you view the world. So this may, if you may not understand, oh, they're approaching it with their values. That doesn't mean that what I'm doing or what I'm saying or how I'm existing isn't valuable. But if I haven't arrived at that understanding, now this relationship is strained because I want you. I'm operating on unworthiness. So now that you're saying, oh, I don't value this, I may assume that or judge that I am not worthy of your attention. I'm not worthy of your acceptance, which can impact our relationship either with that person or other relationships that we may attract due to us holding on to this idea. Financial scarcity cycles, unworthiness, and our money are directly linked together. Worth. I feel like I am not worthy of wealth, if I feel like I'm not worthy of prosperity and I've accepted that idea, I'm now going to go through cycles. I'm now putting in motion, generating cycles of poverty. Because if I feel like I'm unworthy, if I feel like I am undeserving, that is directly connected to lack. I'm not enough. I don't feel like I'm enough. The idea of poverty is not having enough. Blocked creativity. If creativity, and this is also connected with prosperity and spiritual connection. If my connection spiritually, which is where creative energy flows from, is blocked due to the belief that what I'm seeing is not worthy of being expressed. It's not worthy of having a voice. It isn't worthy of being seen. In order to protect myself from feeling this, I will block my creativity because I don't want to feel uncomfortable. I don't want to feel judged. I don't want to go through that emotional. I don't want to go through that. It's understandable. You don't want to go through it, but the cost of it is now you've blocked your creativity, which does generate and fuel financial scarcity. The energetic impacts. Unworthiness can contract our auric field and rob us of experiencing the wholeness of who we are. Because now I've accepted an idea that I'm not enough, or I'm too much. I'm too much, so I need to contract my energy. When I show up, I don't want nobody to see me. I don't want anyone to feel me. I need to rein it. I need to pull it in. We may dim our magnetism, confine ourselves. We create a penitentiary within our own minds that we don't move out of, that we don't release ourselves of, we don't free ourselves from. Another energetic impact is divine flow intervention. We are unique in ourselves. No person is exactly like another person, even if they're a twin or triplet or quadruplet, or, even if you've come out of your mother's womb with another, you all still have your own unique blueprint. However, if you have accepted an idea that may be social, you've accepted something socially that may not be acceptable for the way the divine wants to flow through you, that it may be the very thing that may be deemed unworthy is the exact channel in which the divine is going to flow through you, then that particular idea, and however it shows up from the activating life event, can interrupt this relationship between you and the divine. And then energetically, it will impact how you trust your own presence. So now that we've gone through the energetic impact, we've gone through how unworthiness impacts how we show up, how it impacts the 4 different areas in our lives: emotionally, mentally, physically, somatically, spiritually, ancestrally, relatively, and collectively. And the cost of it. Because you get to choose, but there is a price to pay when it comes to unworthiness. And now you may be in this moment evaluating how unworthiness has shown up in your life. Maybe in this moment where we are right now in this experience, you can pinpoint something has been activated for you to see, oh, I remember when I allowed unworthiness to come into my experience and convince me that I'm not worthy, that I'm not deserving. I remember when I accepted this idea. I remember where I used that activating life event to validate why I wasn't worthy or deserving of what is for me. I could feel that it was for me, but then I had to convince myself that it wasn't. Let's move into now, if you're in this moment and you're having that experience as we're moving through these slides, what is the medicine? What can heal this impact? What opportunity do we have to transform unworthiness into worthiness? To shift these concepts in these thoughts, whether real or imagined, into an opportunity to move from the point of unworthiness and move out of it into our own unique worthiness that we are deserving of. So, one is ancestral repair. Exploring the narrative of our moving within our family system more objectively. Because maybe if you have been impacted, say for example, from your parents, from your relationship with your parents, and that is where unworthiness entered into your life, it's a strong possibility that they learned that from their parents and the experiences that they had with them. So now it goes from it being just a direct experience to, oh, this may be a part of a larger story. I'm probably just a drop in the ocean of what I'm experiencing right now. And therefore, when we begin to move objectively and explore it beyond ourselves, then we realize that when we begin this process of healing, that this is not just our healing, but this is a part of a generational narrative, and move the we can move this shift from unworthiness to worthiness beyond ourselves. Speaking the truth aloud, right? Challenging the belief, questioning the belief. Like, where did I get this from? Who told me that this was true? Who told me that I was not worthy to have what I desire? Giving light to these hidden rules, creating space to be curious and challenge what we may have been believing up until this point. What told me to limit myself to only doing this? Pay attention to what you judge, to judgments, marginalizations, and discounts that you give yourself, because this may be exactly where the truth needs to be spoken. And where we need to call out, when we speak the truth aloud, we're calling our power back, because we are now giving ourselves a choice. We're not just accepting something that existed long ago because we were in the midst of our caregivers and we just wanted to survive. Returning to the body, paying attention to where unworthiness shows up in our body. If you've gone through abuse, this may be even more challenging, especially physical abuse, but it is worth creating space to return to the body, because the body is caught, the body wants to experience you fully. Practicing sacred worth rituals. So, installing within our day-to-day routine rituals that remind us of us being worthy. And I have a ritual for you all. So stay tuned. There is a ritual to help you remember your worth that you can incorporate, that you can start off with if you don't already have a ritual, or if you want to add another ritual to your already set of rituals that you do to remind yourself that you're worthy, that you're deserving just because you exist. You don't have to do anything to be worthy. All you have to do is exist. Practicing these rituals can also bring healing and transform this energy of unworthiness to worthiness. Showing up and practicing, that's the key. An Olympic runner is not an Olympic runner on the day that they decide that they want to be an Olympic runner, right? When they decide that they want to be an Olympic runner, it is then that they initiate what they need in order to support that desire, which is practice, training, and showing up for practice, showing up for training. So recognize that this is also the same for reversing, healing, transforming the impact of unworthiness and receiving without guilt. Believing that, oh, if I didn't do something, I'm not worthy of receiving. Your presence is enough. You may just show up in a space and your presence is the energetic force that shifts the atmosphere. Just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not happening. And then someone may come up to you because they know what's happening, they can feel what's happening, and they want to give to you. Are you going to receive without guilt? Not even just that. I want to address something else. When you give when someone gives you a compliment, right? How do you respond to that compliment? Do you feel like you have to over explain? Oh, well, someone says, "Hey, you're beautiful." You may say thank you, but then that thank you comes with, "Yeah, I needed to do this, and I had to go through that, and I had to, it comes with a whole bunch of other extra instead of just a thank you. I appreciate that. The over explaining sometimes can come masked as guilt. So I encourage you to consider that. When someone gives you receptivity can be just as simple as when you give a compliment, when someone gives a compliment to you, are you willing to receive it? Let's move into the new embodiment, right? That you are inherently worthy because you exist. Your existence is sacred. It took a lot to get you here before you crossed the threshold out of your mother's womb, okay? That alone deemed you sacred. Not what happened afterwards, but the fact that you made it deems you sacred. Remember that. Took a lot to get you here before you crossed the threshold into the physical realm. I take up space with truth, not apology. Show up. You already here, show up. Even if you at the store and you got on a tracksuit, some sweats, take up space. You don't have to be embellished to take up space. You choose to, that's fine. But even when you are not, you are worthy to take up space. No apology. No contract. There's no, coward. Pull your shoulders back. Stand up tall. Because when we are in our embodiment, we are giving permission for others to also do the same. Ashe. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground. Okay. We're going to go ahead and wrap this up with a ritual. So, for this ritual, the ingredients, the recipe starts off with a small bowl of water. Okay? A mirror, a candle, can be a white candle, preferably a white candle. But if you are familiar with the the correspondence color wise of candles, you can set your intention. You can choose whatever color you want. If you are not familiar, you're just starting out, want to keep it simple, white is perfect. Okay. And it can be a tea light candle. It can be a 7-day candle, which are the candles that are in the glass cases. It can be a taper candle. You got your options as long as it's a candle. Okay. And your voice. So now we're gonna move out of silencing, and we're gonna recognize that there's power in our voice. First, you want to light the candle, say your name out loud as if you're calling yourself home. So you know how, I don't know, some of you that may be in the era where parents would call you home when the street lights came on, you didn't go into the house, they called you. They're calling you out. They don't care. They just open the door and they just call your name. Call yourself home like your parents would have called you home when you was outside and you needed to be back at home. It's time to call those parts of you back because you need them in this season. You need them. They're worthy to be home. They are worthy of coming back home. Gaze into the mirror, say, I am enough. I've always been enough. I don't need to do more to be loved. You don't need to do anything else to be loved. I am enough. I've always been enough. I don't need to be more to be loved. And I rebuke anything that tells me that I do. Ashe, you want to dip your fingers in the water. You can dip your first finger and your ring finger, your middle finger. Anoint your chest, meaning put these two fingers on your chest. You can put them right over your heart space. You can put them in the middle of your chest, wherever you feel led on your chest to put your fingers. Put it there, place them there, and whisper to yourself, or you can say out loud, I receive my own return. And then journal. A journal prompt that you can use is, what does my soul know about my worth? And now you create space for learning more about yourself. And you can learn about, with the parts of you that you're calling back, hold space to be curious about them too. It's like someone coming back from war. They've had experiences while they've been away. To assume that they are the same as when they left, when they come back, it shifts the beliefs, it shifts the perception, the idea. So be open, because you are now a completely different person than you were when you disconnected from those parts of yourself that you're calling back. Right? Let them get to know you. You get to know them. Make this a ritual of discovery of yourself. Ashe. Also, too, I will be including a workbook that has more prompts for you to work through in this returning, in this calling back these parts, reclaiming these lost parts of yourself, bringing them back home. Okay, so you can use this prompt, or you can use the prompt that you're going to receive out of the workbook from that is accompanied with this community Skillshare experience. So Just Flow, which is of course the reason why this community Skillshare experience exists, is here to help you reclaim your truth, your breath, and your ancestral power. There is a shift happening in humanity at where we are in this stage of development. And so being ourselves truthfully, being ourselves in our wholeness is the greatest thing that we can do, not only for ourselves, but also for our families, for our communities. And it flows out because those are the building blocks of the world. These are the building blocks of the world: the individual system, the family system, the community system, and it flows out into the ocean of humanity. So, some of what Just Flow offers in order to support you in your reclaiming who you are, reclaiming your truth, reclaiming your wholeness, we have offered soul flow sessions. So if you are familiar, if you are subscribed to our channel, you know that every Monday we have a soul flow conversation. And so if you desire to have a one-on-one soul flow session, this is it's similar to this. It is a similar setup. So where we have that collectively, we also offer it on a one-on-one level. Also, hypnotherapy. So I have been trained and have gained the skills in order to be certified and facilitate hypnotherapy. So we covered the impact of unworthiness and it starting emotionally and mentally. And so if you are in need of support through having a space where you can explore what is in your subconscious mind or operating unconsciously as well and subconsciously, beliefs and ideas that you may not even remember that you or know how to gain access to, hypnotherapy is an incredible experience to help you to bridge and get access to parts of you that you may have disconnected from, either in this life or also past lives. Past lives also do influence what's taking place in our life experience here, present. So that is also offered as well through hypnotherapy and also life coaching. So I mentioned at the beginning of the experience that I have been trained and given and I've been trained and I have been given the tools and have the skills to offer life coaching if you want to do more of a long-term one-on-one experience to cultivate and nourish a healthy connection with yourself. Again, I am certified in emotional intelligence. My niche is emotional intelligence, forgiveness as well. I'm a forgiveness life coach, an emotional intelligence life coach. I'm also a cognitive behavior therapist practitioner as well. And I also am trained as a somatic healing coach as well. So if that is something that you need support in nourishing, cultivating a healthy connection with yourself and moving through unworthiness in conjunction with this Skillshare experience, community Skillshare experience, Just Flow off. I do have offerings that are available. I also I also offer through Just Flow group healing rituals to release shame and restore body trust, as well as storytelling spaces to restore cultural memory, and rituals and journaling to anchor new truths. I have created a Substack. So the Substack platform will be used to offer group healing rituals as well as storytelling spaces. Also on Fridays, we will have a listening connection here on YouTube. And that will be in that space. I will be going over how I explore my own cultural memory through what I've done through my own genealogy work over the past few years, not only individually, but also working with my local library and the genealogy experts there, and what I've also explored as well in my own community, in the history in the community, in order to restore cultural memory, and also stories that are connected to my ancestry as well. I will offer that here as a space on YouTube. So make sure you are subscribed to YouTube, and also I will have linked in the description my Substack link. I just started the Substack link, so if you follow right after this, just know there's not much up there yet, but there will be starting this week. So make sure you follow Just Flow on Substack. And I will have the link in the description box so that you can do that as well. We don't just treat the symptom. I just don't treat the symptom. I restore the root. That is my specialty. That is what I have always been very interested in. That is what I've done in my own personal journey. Sankofa is my motto. My motto. Sankofa is my motto. In order to, you go back in order to move forward, right? Sometimes we have to go back within ourselves and call back those versions of ourselves before we move forward. So I want to thank you for joining this experience. I hope that it was beneficial for you and where you are in cultivating your wholeness. Make sure you download the free workbook that I created to accompany this experience called Unworthiness Release. The link will be in the bio. And also, if you are interested in working with me one-on-one, or you would like to hire me for a community or corporate offering, I will have the information in the bio, in the description box, of how you can contact me and access me for this work. Don't forget to connect with me on social media. Just Flow is here on YouTube, on Flow Into You TV. You can also find Just Flow on Instagram as well. And that is where we are in Substack. That is where we are currently. We are not on Facebook any longer. I am revisiting whether I should start back Facebook, but I will keep you all posted on our expansion if we move into any other spaces on social media. May you continue to remind yourself that you are worthy, that you are deserving of all good things of life. You are not here to be bare minimum. You are not here to be mediocre. Too much was invested in you before you got here for you to be limited to the concept, to the idea of unworthiness. I'm sending love to you. And please, if you need any support, please make sure, again, one, download the free workbook, work through it. Let me know how it supports you as well. I'm always open to your feedback. Make sure you leave a comment. Let me know what your experience is with this community, Skillshare, And if you want us to continue to build on this, because this is a pretty this is pretty heavy. As I was creating this Skillshare, this community Skillshare experience, I had to move through a lot of emotions, just because it took me into the not only my personal experience with moving from unworthiness to worthiness, but also I could feel collectively the impact that this experience was going to have. So I want to know your input, your feedback. If you want next week's community Skillshare experience to be a part 2 on this, let me know. Otherwise, we will be next Wednesday meeting together again for another community Skillshare experience. Much love to you. Peace.